Look at that. Thank you so much. Greetings and good evening, everyone. I am Rob Crete, your friendly neighborhood union president. I am proud and happy to be here. I know we're getting ready to get into another school year. Very exciting, always trepidation, and some things that we want to always talk to you about before the school year. So we've begun having these back to school member town halls the night before we go back. So thank you for being here. We are going to record the first hour or whatever we have for announcements and information. We'll cap it there. The officers and I will stick around for any questions that you might have. We'll stay here as long as we need to with any questions that you have. And again, tonight, this is not your only opportunity to ask questions. You could always call the office. You could email any of us directly, or you could always email hcta@hcps.net. And those of you asking out there, like, why are we doing a meeting the night before we really go back? Well, it's really been difficult over the years to find a good meeting time in August because we know as soon as you get your feet there on school campus tomorrow, things move quickly and people get real busy real quick. So this is our opportunity to get you what we think is the essential information early on, but this is not your only opportunity. So we'll capture the meeting tonight and we will send it out to all of our members next week during pre-planning so that way while you have your 21 hours plus in your classroom, whatever it is that you get, you'll have time to watch this video if you need so. If you need to. So again, we have an agenda tonight. I am Rob Crete. I am your president. And thank you again for being here. And now I'm going to pass it right over to our vice president, whose camera is also not working. We're going to pass it right over to Regina Gambrell upstairs. Regina?
Good evening, everyone. We're all getting ready for back to school tomorrow. We want to start off the year strong. With that in mind, we also want to start off our year strong here at HCTA. We'll be looking for staff and leaders to help build power at your work sites this school year. So look forward to seeing us out in the field, trying to hit every work site. Our membership is growing, but as we all know, we still have more work to do. We are trying to reach 70%. We're going to reach 70% this year. At this time, we currently have 49% for instructional, 30% paraprofessional, and 20% clerical. We have Mission Solidarity that'll be kicking off this year really soon. And we'll need your help to continue to grow our membership.
Yeah, so with that, and just kind of piggybacking off what Regina said, and by the way, I'm Britt Wegman, I'm Executive Director here at HCTA. We've talked a lot about this at a rep council and put information out about how our membership impacts our status as a union and our ability to continue to collectively bargain. We have to maintain by law 60% membership in each of those units to remain the bargaining agent for employees. And when we don't reach that goal, then we have to initiate and participate in what's called a PERC election. That's the Public Employee Relations Commission. So without that 60% minimum membership, we will continue to be required to complete these elections, which are costly. It costs our union money and they're risky. We do have a clerical vote coming up again in August. Some of you may remember we ran one back around spring break. And when we then registered with PERC in May, that then triggered a new election. So our clerical coming up, and that's going to be August 21st through September 18th. So our clerical employees they've been through this before, though, will get ballots in the mail and they will vote yes to keep HCTA or no to have no union representation. Our instructional and paraprofessional units have also not reached 60%. But due to the backlog and everything that's going on with all these elections across the state, we have not held those yet for instructional paraprofessionals. We're going to have what's called a consolidated election coming up eventually, which will cover last year and this year. So stay tuned for more information. But this is really what it comes down to, the importance of what we're going to be kicking off this school year with our Mission Solidarity to increase our membership. So more to come on that. And I'll kick it over to Val Chuchman, our Secretary Treasurer. You're muted.
I am muted. Thanks.
There we go.
Can Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Excited that you're here. Not sure if you're excited to wake up early tomorrow, but I'm sure you're happy to get those kiddos back in your classrooms. I'm going to talk about our structure that we have here at HCTA, which this chart on the side here, you'll be able to find in your member book. And please, when you get your member books, which you will in the first couple weeks, make sure you're going through this. Our staff has worked really hard to make sure that this is useful and not just a birdcage liner. So make sure you're checking this out for all the good stuff. So here's the HCTA organizational chart. Remember, we are a member-driven organization. So everything that we do comes from you, our members, me, Rob, Regina, we're members too. And below that is our governing body, is the representative council. Building reps and members alike. You don't have to be a building rep to go. You can come to rep council if you're a member. You just wouldn't be able to vote in any decisions that are being made. Then we have standing committees, board of directors, who direct our officers, who are me, Rob, and Regina. And now I want to get to the staff. And as you can see, we've got nice little circles around our organizing team and our advocacy team. So when you're in your member book, I'm also told this is searchable on the website now too, you can find your clusters. We're divided into 4 clusters. They are in here. Rob's given a visual too. They're in the member book, also on the website. And if you need something, check who is your organizer and your advocate for your school site. And that's going to be, they're going to be your go-to when you ever need any assistance. Your organizers are going to help you with your union leadership team, building culture at your school site. They had an excellent rep training just the other day. Maybe that was yesterday. No, it was Tuesday. If they offer it again, I highly recommend going. And then your advocates are there to help you when you have your, contract questions, issues with your principal, or if you were naughty and need to go to OPS, or maybe you weren't naughty but they're still sending you to OPS. So please make sure you're checking out the member book, and you know who your people are for your cluster. I'm gonna send it back to Britt for the stuff you really want to know.
Yeah, and we've done some work on our website, thanks to staff recommendations. So if you are not sure on who to contact, make sure you visit our website, and you can hit our contact us tab, and it brings you to how to contact our office, and it'll bring you to a page to search. You can type in your school if you can't find your member book to find out who your advocate or your organizer is, and then just always call our main office if you're unsure.
Yeah, and
So
I just want to jump in here and just say that we have the greatest, most dynamic staff in the state of Florida. And that's why I'm confident that collectively with the membership and the staff that we have, that we are going to get the 70% and get away from these annual elections and all of the paperwork and all of the arduous tasks that go with that. So I'm feeling really good. And on top of that, I'd like to say that not only is our website better, but again, as Val's mentioning, the member book is better than ever. We're trying to make things just streamlined and more clear, and have the best possible information right at your fingertips for you. So we're hoping that you guys are going to utilize this better than and more so than ever before. Sorry, Brett.
That's okay. All right, health insurance. So a lot of you've heard about health insurance. The district shifted from Humana to Aetna for this 2025 for, recently. We all kind of remember that, probably very much so. With there were minimal changes to cost, doctors, and prescriptions. There's always, change is tough. So for 2026, the district and the school board voted to shift to a self-insured model. So Aetna will still remain our network and our insurance provider with our network of doctors and prescriptions, but the way that is funded is changing. Aetna will still manage the claims, and the school district will pay those claims through this self-insurance. And HCTA, we will continue to protect that no premium cost plan that is an option for all employees, both in the instructional and ESP contract. I just want to note too that if you are more curious about this, I know this could be a whole show on itself about insurance. If you visit our Hillsborough CTA YouTube, we actually held a meeting a month or so ago about this. And there's a whole PowerPoint presentation where we discuss questions and have a deeper dive into this topic. So if you have further questions or folks at your site are asking about it, I encourage you to go to our website, or sorry, our YouTube, and dig up that meeting about insurance for more information. And I want to also mention that starting in September, our insurance committee, which is contractual, which has traditionally met once a year to kind of go over here are the updates, what's happening, will now be meeting monthly. And HCTA will have a seat at that table as usual, and it will be more in depth and more information. And what I'm looking forward to as we move into this is that we will be able to flow more information about insurance monthly rather than kind of like, here's the annual, increase or updates to insurance. So we'll be able to manage that and see that. And to be clear, I just want to make one note. We get a lot of questions about this. HCTA and the district will not see individual claims. We won't be part of that approval of like, oh, Rob's going to get his prescription or Val's going to get her test. We will be looking at the overall data and then how can we help educate employees to better leverage what we have available for healthcare, because the whole goal is to try to get people better and not have so many claims. So let's talk a little bit about bargaining. We've been sending out a lot of updates about this. Our latest one was sent out last evening because we had a session yesterday. And I'm not going to dive too much into all the nitty gritty and details of what's on the table or what's not, because that's in the latest newsletter and more will be coming. But I just wanted to kind of reiterate what's kind of going on with the school board budget and what's been flowing out there in the news. On Tuesday, the school board talks about their tentative budget for 25-26, and it allocates $820 million for instructional salaries, which, to be clear, instructional salaries include a lot of our ESPs. Some instructional, some ESP funding comes from other places. But they're also projecting ending with a $290 million fund balance, which is more than what they projected they would end. Then that's about 13%. And those are, if you watched, you saw me get up and praise the district's team for allocating $123 million more than they spent in the annual financial report that they submitted a few years ago, which would have been the 23-24 school year. We're still waiting for what kind of played out for this last school year. But through the advocacy of our staff and our leaders, and especially our members who have been contacting school board members to talk about negotiations, our school board members acknowledged, Member Combs said salaries have not kept up. She acknowledged that the fund balance has been built off the backs of employees who are working 2 to 3 jobs. Member Washington talked about, he was very clear, employees are not being paid what they deserve. And Member Perez clearly stated that we need to place money in the pockets of our teachers and staff. However, what's happening at the table is not necessarily matching that right now. The board has yet to agree to meaningful salary schedule improvements. And if you've been paying attention, this is not just a step that we've proposed, but we've also proposed meaningful increases to base salary along with some of our additional payment increases. So we really need folks to continue to contact the school board. It really makes a difference. It doesn't always feel like it because you may get a form letter back or you may not hear anything back, but they hear it and they're talking to us and we're talking to them, and that's important. So some points. We don't like to put out a template on, exactly what you should say, because we know it's frustrating to get a form letter back, but some things to talk about are how salaries haven't kept up, even though we're going to get into this in a second, but how the governor and the legislature are touting, it's so historic, but we know reality is that's not true. We know employees are covering vacancies that have been chronically vacant for many years now. Their own budget shows that there are funds available, and they need to direct their team to approve and say yes to our proposals. Share your story, make it about why it matters to you and your students, especially. That's what's going to make an impact rather than us just kind of giving you a blanket statement. So I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on in social media and in the news about this kind of memo that everybody got yesterday, which, by the way, was required by the superintendent to be sent to all employees, not something that he went and sought and sent out on his own. The governor and the commissioner of the Department of Education, they tout that this is a $1.3 billion budget for teacher pay, but there's more to this. Last year's budget already included $1.2 billion. So to be clear, when we talk about minimum wage increases for support staff to $15 an hour and the increase to $47,500 for minimum starting pay, when that money came initially, they had to fund it and then the increase. So when we see these numbers getting bigger and bigger, it's because they're having to continue to pay for it. So the big 1.3 billion is maintaining what's happened in the past. And really all that comes down to is the budget added just under 102 million more compared to last year. And when we do the math to kind of look at all of the instructional staff over the entire state, divided over 24 paychecks, let's just say, not every district pays 24, some it's 20, some it's less. That comes to about $20 a paycheck. So while still earning less than the national average, again, Florida is 50th in the nation in average teacher pay. And so while the governor and the commissioner want to brag about minimum starting teacher pay increasing, that has not kept up for the rest of, mid to veteran employees. And we all felt that. We saw compression remains in our scales, both the ESP and the instructional scale. And this is because while they're bragging about these historic, large budgets, the increases are not there. So, another action you can take is communicating to the governor and the commissioner of education that this isn't enough. This is not, we're not seeing historical raises, but we as HCTA, we're at the table. We're making our proposals. We are not delaying negotiations as that letter is trying to frame. Remember that the legislature delayed even getting their budget out by 2 months, which delayed our bargaining. And the fourth calculation for the Florida Education Finance Program, which helps the district, close out their year from the Florida Department of Education, still hasn't been released, which is typically released in May. So, I see the social media out there and I see what our members are saying, and I know we're not falling for it, but I just wanted to kind of share some of these facts so you all have the information to talk to folks about it, that, this is silly. We wouldn't be working against ourselves. HCTA would not be holding back funds. And in fact, we're proposing they pay us now. So that's kind of a summary of bargaining right now. And of course, we'll have more questions at the end, but I encourage you to stay tuned. If you've missed bargaining, again, go to our YouTube page. You can go back and watch. I think there's a way to watch it on like fast forward. I've learned you can kind of watch it in like fast talk. So those are all there. They're live streamed. Our next session will be Tuesday, August 5th at 3 o'clock for instructional bargaining, where HCTA will be making our counter proposal. So I encourage you to tune in, to watch, stay tuned to those bargaining updates. But the biggest thing is to stay educated, to make sure you're informed about what's going on, agitate your colleagues, let them know what's going on. And then our organizing piece comes in, putting pressure on the decision makers, which is the school board. The folks at the bargaining table across from our team, they represent the school board. They are the mouthpiece of the school board. So if that's not matching what the school board is saying in a meeting and what's happening at the table, the school board needs to know that. So that's what I have for bargaining, and I'm going to move it along to SIP waivers, to Rob.
I'm going to talk a little bit about bargaining first, too. I'm going to talk about our preparedness and how well we are ready to go to bargaining and get it done. And that's really, again, we have the best executive director in the state with Britt Wegman. She comes prepared, over-prepared, and has all of the data ready to go. We were surprised with the letter that was being asked to be sent out or forced to be sent out to members yesterday. And we found it to be ironic because the letter states that we're getting in the way of getting money to all of the employees while we're sitting down at the negotiating table doing exactly that. And I also want to add that there's not one member of our bargaining team that thinks that what the district is offering right now is worth taking, because it's just not, based on the data that we're getting from our executive director, from all of their financials. We could do better than what they're offering right now. On top of that, I would also challenge anybody that believes that they would do better financially without a union or without HCTA. That you'd be delusional to think that the district would give you guys the amount of money that you're making now, or increase the offer that they have on the table now, without the pressure that we're bringing as a union because of your decision to be a union member, be a part of your professional organization. Collectively, we are moving them. And it looks, it's tough in a state that funds public education 50th in the nation. but we will make sure and do everything we can to get you every possible dollar. I promise you that we are doing everything we can. We're giving you guys, updates wherever possible. We're trying to make it as transparent as ever with the live feeds. And if you're watching along, you get to see me lose my mind. I've already about at least once with the ESPs. I almost got there yesterday or the day before when they started talking some other nonsense. But we will not settle for anything less than what you guys deserve. And in a state that is funding public education as woefully as it is, we always remind you to talk to your lawmakers, because Democrats, Republicans, and independents all believe that we want fully funded public schools. So again, we're going to champion that. We have your back, and we know that you have ours, and that's how we're going to move all of this work, and we're going to get what we're doing. So thank you again for all that. But now we'll get into, again, we'll take questions at the end. And this is also not your only opportunity to get some information and around bargaining and what we're doing. But now we're going to talk a little bit about what goes on during pre-planning with SIP waivers. Okay. Remember, anytime that you're discussing a SIP waiver during pre-planning, and Britt, you can bring up all of my little bulleted points. That's fine here. You're making a change to the contract that we already have. But here's a couple of things I want you to be reminded of going into tomorrow: that all waivers must be given to employees a minimum of 48 hours in advance of the vote of the SIP waiver. They can't give it to you on Monday and have a vote on Tuesday. And if they give it to you tomorrow on Friday, you can't have a vote on Monday anyway. That's professional study day anyway. It's got to be 48 work hours. So we're talking about 2 days. So these SIP waivers have to be dealt with very early on. You might get those waivers tomorrow, that's fine, but make sure that you're getting the amount of time that you need to decide whether you want to vote on it. Now, overall, we believe that you should vote no for SIP waivers. We work hard on the contract and the language that we have. However, we know that there are some sites that work out different things with principals on, how they're doing lunch duty or bus duty, car rider line. We understand that there are other things involved there. So we're not going to blanket with an absolute no, but we want the members at your site to have that decision. So remember, they all have to be done during pre-planning. We highly recommend that if you are dealing with SIP waivers, get all of the members together at your site. Let's have a conversation around it. How do you all feel about voting yes on this or no? And then vote as a block. That's how we build power at each site. And they know we need the union, we need the HCTA members, we need the active members in this school to agree to do something before we're going to be able to get it done. So again, we want to make sure that you are collaborating and cooperative, but doing what's right by you and the contract that you've already been given, and you're voting to make a change to it. So you might have questions on that, and that's fine. You send those to us as you get them, but make sure you're getting the allotted time. And I strongly, highly encourage having that meeting with your members around the SIP waivers that you guys are going to vote on. All right. So let's move on from that. I think I'm going to Regina.
Yes. Thank you. While we are awaiting our bargaining win, let's go ahead and talk about something that we've won already. If we can put in your reactions on your Zoom, if you have access to your reactions, let's go ahead and give a hand clap for that big HCTA win of the class action grievance last school year. Don't you hate to waste sick days actually being sick? Employees earn 10 sick personal business days each school year. Everyone is allotted 4 days at the start of the year. And as we all know, ACTA protects your right to use your sick and personal leave. And if you ever have any problems, reach us at 813-238-7902 or by email at hcta@hcps.org. And as always, you can always email us, get in contact with the officers as well, and we're willing to help out. So again, hit your reaction. Let's clap it up for HCTA win.
Yeah, I think this is a big one too. I just want to piggyback off this, that we get a lot of concerns over, oh, I'm getting marked down, or I get a letter about, reaching excessive absences. And that's what our class action grievance was about, that you get contractual, you earn these contractual days and they are yours. So, when you're in excess, our position is if you get into unpaid time, that's not approved because there are contractual provisions for leave that is unpaid. So it's important that, you're addressing that. If the moment you get any kind of letter or notice or anything that you contact us, because we've worked closely with the district through HR to solve this, and they're on the same page with us. And sometimes it just takes us talking with HR to make sure the message gets to that principal. And if it's not working that way, then we will bring out this grievance and we'll get at it again. So moving on to documenting your time.
All right, yeah, make sure that you are documenting your time. If you are covering for anybody who's absent or vacancies, please make sure that you are I used to have a sticky note on my whiteboard, and I would write what period, what day, just so I knew and I could keep track and I could go back to the secretary and make sure that I was getting the comp time, getting the hours that I covered. ESPs, this is especially important for you because you get your comp time paid out at the end of the year. So please make sure that you are documenting all of that. And if you make an agreement with any of your administrators that they're going to give you comp time for doing something extra, get it in writing. Now, I don't mean that you got to go up to them with a contract or anything and tell them they got to sign here. All you got to do is go back to your computer, write an email, say, hey, I just want to confirm that I'm going to get X amount of hours of comp time for doing Y and Z. And then they'll write back, yes, that's good enough. That's confirmation. You don't have to do anything super official. All right. And I think that's all for me tonight. So I hope you guys have a great back to school tomorrow.
Thanks, Val. Yeah, and again, it's really about making sure that you get what you've been promised. And too often we found a member that was said, hey, if you do X or Y, I'll give you this supplement. But when we don't have it in writing, we cannot enforce it. But when we get it in an email, then we bring it to the district and we get those members those dollars. So again, I recommend documenting everything. I used to use the HCTA desk calendar to write even down the days when I was covering classes, who I was covering. And so that way I had a clear documentation of every time I was doing things outside of my classroom or in additional tasks, so to speak. Again, into pre-planning, you should already go back when you go to school tomorrow and you're looking at your schedule of your conference nights that they schedule. Remember that the second Thursday of each month is our HCTA Rep Council. Members, reps, we want you all there. And again, we're also now, our board voted that we're feeding you guys at Rep Council. So come on down between 6 and 8, that second Thursday of every month. Not only for we're trying to make it a meaningful meeting, but we're going to feed you pizza or sandwiches and vegetables. We have all kinds of different things. So in case you don't know that, we're doing that. Makes it a little bit easier. But by contract, you should not have any conference nights scheduled on the second Thursday of any month. So alert admin in writing that conference night cannot be scheduled and make that change and have them make that change. Tomorrow or during pre-planning is the best time for them to make that change. And again, they don't do it to be nasty. They do it out of ignorance. That most of your admin do not know the contract as well as you, and we know it. And again, our first Rep Council is actually Thursday, September 11th. That's my bad. Sorry. Moving on to the next one. Pre-planning, yes. Ooh, this is a good one. Remember that you get 21 hours in your classroom at a minimum. Now, here's the math, okay? And remember, I'm an English teacher. So actually, a principal just called me on this about 30 minutes ago. Remember, you get 21 hours to plan. That's actually 3 full days in your classroom. So 7 times 3, right? So you carry the 1, but you also get an hour for lunch. So you do get an hour for lunch every day during pre-planning, okay? So ultimately, you get 21 hours on your own for planning in your classroom, and the district gets 21 hours of your time. So they get 3 days, you get 3 days. One of those 3 days is during, obviously, professional study day. And then the other 2 would be at your site. But yes, you do get an hour lunch. Now, the language is a little wonky in our contract. It doesn't say that exactly. And it's kind of backwards math talking about those hours when you look at the 21 hours. So this is where a lot of principals are confused. But yet, we've already engaged a district. They understand you get that hour for lunch. So what I would say is when you get to school tomorrow and they're like, well, we don't have you scheduled for an hour lunch, they should be giving you that. But there's a level of grace. If they're feeding you lunch there, you still need to have all of that time. So again, as members, figure out what that is that you would be talking with admin about. So I spoke to a principal that said, I have 26 hours in the classroom for the teachers, but I have one day that I have listed as a 30-minute lunch, but I'm giving them lunch also that day. So he's like, what do I do? And I said, that is something that you need to talk to your employees about. What do they want to do around that? Do they want to get their full hour of lunch there? And then you take another 30 minutes from that 25 that you're giving them, or 26. So what I would say is make sure that you are having open conversations with your admin around this, but you're guaranteed your 1 hour lunch during pre-planning. It's a little different during the school year where you get your 30-minute duty-free lunch. But the last thing I have on pre-planning time is during those hours, professional study day and your mandatory site-based meetings, you can't use comp time during that time. So I'm going to recap because I'm confusing even myself. So you can use comp time during the 21 hours that you have to plan in your classroom. That's your comp time. And then during professional study day and the other mandatory site-based meetings, you're not allowed to use comp time. Then the last part is every day of the 6 days of pre-planning, you get 1 hour lunch. Good. I think I got it now. Good. I got it. Then you got it. Now we're moving on. Thank you. Now we're going to talk about steering committees. Steering committees are found in 6.6 faculty steering committees. Okay. Now I only started with the first one. There's a lot of bulleted points there. And it's something that I've spoken about for several years now. It's really something that if it's not established at your school, we need to reestablish it. And if it is established, when we're going to start talking to the schools that are doing that, we need to find some strategies of how to make this the most effective way to communicate with admin. So I'm opening this up by talking about the language. The faculty will have this, will have, the principal shall have the authority to appoint an additional at-large members, but such appointed members shall not constitute more than 25% of the committee. This is the contract language that we can hold them to. Okay, there's a little bit more language about budgets and such like that. But Britt, can you bring me to the next slide, please?
Yes.
Thank you. What we're trying to do is have that conversation with your admin about what we're doing. We're building site-based power because now this is going to be the vehicle of solutions for the schools that you're at. So the steering committee should be able to work with the admin to talk about these are issues that we see and give the admin the opportunity to know about the issue and then address the issues that are happening. Now, again, there's some other finer language around that. If you go again to the contract about what the school budgets are, I do want to get clarity from the district about what that looks like nowadays. Remember, that language on steering committees was written well before we had much stricter budgets in the state around really everything, specifically the dollars that come to schools. So I'm going to follow up with all of our reps at a rep council about how we look at the school budget, but we think that we're going to look at that as a rep and for steering committees. But right now, what I want you to do is make sure that we're establishing based on the contract, one as a vehicle to discuss the issues and suggestions with the administration. And Britt and Val and Regina and I, we have weekly meetings with HR, and that's that's an opportunity for us to take the issues that we hear from our members and bring it to the district. Like the first time around the track, to let them know about things that we're hearing that we think that need to be addressed. And then from there, we take it to different supervisors or different ways to go about making that change that you guys are asking for. So that's our labor meeting that we have every week. And I guess what I'm saying is that the steering committee is an opportunity for our members to have that voice within their own school and to have an ownership of what's happening by helping steer that school. And that should be the avenue for those conversations. So if you don't have that established, I'm going to ask you to look at that 6.0 and that 6 point in the contract and really make sure that your school's having that. And if you're finding any kind of resistance to that, that's where you're going to contact us and we're going to help you get that done. So this is the year that we're going to have a fully formed, operating, and functional steering committee at every single school site, because that's another way that we're building power and that we're showing the district collectively we're making this a better district for not only for all of you, but for the kids that and the communities that we're serving. There we go. And again, remember that we are doing everything we can to protect you and your contract. And that is a very big, like, there's a lot of things in our contract. And we only can protect members when you cannot get insurance on the house when the house is on fire. And too often that's happening, and it happens every single day, and that's heartbreaking. We need 70%, we need 90%, we need 100% of the employees out there to understand that we are going to be working in their best interest to make better conditions for their schools and get them the most money we possibly can, and then protect them if by chance there is an issue. So that's what we're doing, and we want to make sure that you are understanding that. Talk to your neighbors, talk in the school, talk to everybody that's a potential member. Regina mentioned it, I think Val mentioned it, and Britt mentioned it. We will be out at sites. We have a plan and a campaign for Operation Solidarity. We're going to visit as many sites as possible, talking to both members and potential members about what we're doing and how we're going to make this a better district for all of our employees and our students. Next slide, please. We have a few announcements. Go ahead, you can list them right there.
Oh, they didn't show up on my version, so go ahead and say them, and I'll see if I can add them as we go.
No. I got them listed right here. You don't have to write them down. First of all, rep elections. Rep elections need to take place during pre-planning if you have not already done them. We have rep elections. We have a rep election form, okay, that needs to be completed. And one thing I want to stress is that we need to have open nominations. When we get there to school and you want to send out an email, all members should be invited to run to be one of our reps. That's an important step. Give everybody the opportunity to step up and be that leader. We're creating union leadership teams because it takes a team to move this work. So we want as many hands on deck as we possibly can. So please make sure that we're doing open nominations. If by chance that you don't need to have an election, you still need to fill out the rep election form. We have election by acclamation on here. Acclamation is, it's really an uncontested election. So if you have 5 spots to elect and you have 5 people running, you don't have to have an election, but you still have to fill out the form and send that in. Now, we're going to get a little crazy about these forms because we have to prove to the state that we have these forms. And I've talked about this at Rep Council. So we're going to be following up with you. And we know that it's been a little loosey-goosey in the past when the state wasn't over our shoulder making sure we had them. But now we need one from every single site, whether you had an election or not. And the only time you're not having an election is when you don't have to because it's uncontested. And if you're a little unsure about that, that's where you're going to reach out to us. Another announcement that we have is we have the new teacher free market, which is on Saturday, August 9th. I got the date right, Val? I did. And that is from 9 a.m. until noon. That's an important one because all of our new teachers are invited to come on down and get some supplies that have been left by some veteran teachers. And we have some new school supplies too for them. And if you have a new hire at your site and they have not yet joined, send them down to the new teacher free market because we'll sign them up as a member and then get them some supplies and things for their classroom. But not only that, we have our group of fine, young, remarkable educators from our fire group that's going to kind of give them a little bit of an orientation to not only the district, but to what unionism is. So we got a lot of things going on that Saturday, and we're real excited and happy and really glad that we could offer that. The other announcement that I have is that our very first Rep Council is on Thursday, September 11th at 6 o'clock. I think I mentioned that we offer food, but not only that, we're trying to make that to be, worth your while coming down. That's where that's the voting body of our election, of our union. And we talk about the most important business that we have for the given month. And we share that there right here at our building at 3102 North Havana. Another announcement is that every week we send out a newsletter. When I got here, we started writing the newsletters, and now we're at a point where there might be, I'm going to call it newsletter fatigue, because not everybody's reading the newsletter. I'm telling you that we're trying to crowbar in there and shoehorn in there the only things that we think that you need. So if something big's happening, it's going to be in there. When we have our bargaining updates, it's coming from the same avenue, right? We're sending that same email list out. But take a look at what we have in there. There's opportunities in there as well for members from time to time. Last week and going over, and for the next few weeks, you'll see something in there for the Hillsborough Education, the retirees offer innovation grants at the beginning of the school year for $150 for your classroom. And it's a very simple application that you'll find in the newsletter. If you're doing something kind of innovative and new and you need $150 to kind of help fund that, fill out one of those forms and hopefully we can get you chosen to get one of those little mini grants to help move, boost you up a little bit on some of the smaller things you might be doing in the classroom. We really appreciate our retirees and their willingness to kind of craft that for us and offer us those grants. And the last thing I have for you is that in a couple of weeks, we're going to be rolling out something called HCTA Member Assist. And I'm pretty excited about this because it's a concierge program that we'll be using out of, I'm not sure what concierge is. I don't think I'd learned that word until about 3 days ago. So the concierge service that will take all of the different benefits that we have from FEA, NEA, AFT, but not only that, it's going to have all of your health insurance information in there. And it's going to be a service that will be able to help you answer the questions and find the services that you need. So if you're having trouble with finding a dog watcher, if you're having a difficult time figuring out which part of the insurance would be best for you and your family, they have a concierge for that and they have a way to do that. They have ways to talk about, hey, I'm going to Orlando in November and I need a rental car. Is there a benefit for that? Or is there something there? They will always show you what they have for you. And it goes beyond the benefits that we have even here for Hillsborough and for our union. They'll look under every rock. And it's not just an AI, it's actual people that will be working for you to make it happen and give you the best possible answers. I'll give you an example. Like if you have a project that you need at home and hey, I need somebody to trim this tree. Well, they'll go out and they'll find you a list of local tree trimmers and they'll hey, give me 5. They'll find 5 and they'll tell you, they will even set up appointments for you. So anyway, we think that this is going to change the way that we're able to interact with the voluminous number of benefits that we have for our members. It's going to just streamline it and help you guys find it better. And I'm going to, once we get there, and I think it's going to be around August 16th that we're going to open it up. Once that happens, you're going to get an email from all of us around that. It's going to only be for members. Non-members will not be able to get into this. And I'm going to want you to get in there and check it out and see what's there. So that way we could even make that service better for everyone. But I'm pretty excited. I think that's going to be a little bit of a game changer in all of that. And the last thing is that this video is going to be on our HCTA YouTube. We're going to send that out next week. We're also going to be sending all of our members during pre-planning a survey. The survey will ask you things. We're going to have some very basic questions about health insurance. We're going to be asking you how you would want us to engage the district. If we have a hurricane and we have to make up those days, we're going to ask you guys about what you want for professional development and the formats in which you would want it. So we're going to have several questions for you guys. So look for this video. Look for a member survey next week. We're also going to resend out the little video that we worked on several weeks ago about health insurance, or actually it's already up there on the HCTA YouTube. And I think that really those were all my notes. So I think I hit it all, and we hit the bell ringer before 7 o'clock. With that, what we're going to do is we're going to cap this video right here. Dave, you could stop the video.